The massive Imperial scout fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Their black ships, each shaped like perfect geometric shapes, moved with military precision. The lead ship, a pyramid-shaped vessel twice the size of Earth's largest spacecraft, led the formation. Captain Tom Miller of Earth's Outer Defense Station, Guardian 7, spotted them first. He sipped his coffee, looked at his radar screen, then did a double take that made him spill the hot drink all over his uniform. But he didn't care about the stain. His hands moved quickly across the control panel as he sent the alert to Earth Defense Command. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Unknown fleet detected beyond Neptune's orbit. Numbers. Counting. Over 300 vessels. In the heart of Earth Defense Command, Admiral West stood before the massive screen showing the approaching fleet. His weathered face remained calm as he studied the data. 20 years of leading Earth's combined space forces had prepared him for this moment. Or so he thought. The first transmission from the alien fleet came through all channels simultaneously. The image that appeared on screens across Earth's defense network showed a tall figure in ornate golden armor. Its 4 eyes glowed with a purple light. Primitive species of Earth, the alien commander spoke in perfect English, though its mouth didn't match the words. I am Grand Marshal Xan of the Eternal Galactic Empire. For 10,000 years, we have ruled the stars. Your civilization has been monitored since you first sent radio signals into space. The time has come for your integration into the Empire. Surrender your forces and accept our benevolent rule or face annihilation. Admiral West looked at his second-in-command, Commander Lisa Brown. She covered her mouth, but her shoulders were shaking. It took him a moment to realize she was trying not to laugh. Sir, she whispered, they're literally copying the speech from Space Invaders, the movie from 2018, word for word. West's serious expression cracked. A small smile formed on his lips. You're right. I knew it sounded familiar. My kids made me watch that movie at least 20 times. The alien commander was still talking. You have 1 Earth hour to lay down your weapons and... Admiral West pressed a button on his command chair. The transmission cut off mid-sentence. He opened a channel to all Earth Defense Forces. Ladies and gentlemen, he spoke, his voice carrying to every ship and station in the solar system. It seems our first contact with an alien empire is going exactly how our movies predicted. They even got the dramatic speech right. Chuckles echoed through the command center. Let's show them how humanity responds to threats. Commander Brown typed quickly on her console. Sir, all ships report ready. The new quantum shields are at full power. Should we respond to their transmission? West nodded. Send them our answer. Audio only. Across the void of space, on the bridge of the Imperial flagship, Grand Marshal Xan waited confidently for the primitive's surrender. His empire had conquered 1,000 worlds this way. The combination of overwhelming numbers and psychological warfare always worked. The humans' response came through the ship's speakers. It started quietly at first, a few small sounds. Then it grew louder. The bridge crew looked at each other in confusion as the sound became clear. It was laughter. Thousands of human voices laughing together. Xan's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. What is the meaning of this? No species has ever. A new voice cut through the laughter. Admiral West's calm tone carried across space. Thanks for the dramatic speech, but we've seen better in our movies. If you'd like, we can recommend some good films about alien invasions. Spoiler alert, the humans usually win. The laughter grew louder. On screens across the Imperial fleet, humans started broadcasting scenes from centuries of science fiction movies showing aliens just like them being defeated. For the first time in his long career, Grand Marshal Xan felt uncertain. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. These humans weren't following the script at all. Behind him, one of his junior officers whispered, Sir, why are they laughing at death? Xan had no answer. How could he explain something he didn't understand himself? The battle for Earth was about to begin, But it wasn't going to go the way the Empire expected. Not at all. Grand Marshal Xan sat in his private chamber aboard the Imperial flagship, watching human broadcasts for the 10th straight hour. His golden armor lay discarded on the floor, and his purple eyes were tired from staring at screens. "Play the next one," he ordered his research team. The screen lit up with another human entertainment video, this one from their year, 1996, titled Independence Day. Xan watched in growing frustration as the fictional aliens in the movie made the exact same demands he had made just yesterday. "Stop." He stood up suddenly. "Are you telling me these humans have been making stories about defeating space empires for over 100 years? His chief researcher, a thin alien with green skin, nodded nervously. "Yes, sir. We found thousands of such stories. They call it science fiction. They've been imagining space battles since before they had proper aircraft." On another screen, intercepted transmissions from Earth's fleet showed human ships running battle drills. Their formations made no sense according to Imperial tactical doctrine. Some ships moved like old sea vessels. Others performed maneuvers that seemed inspired by their entertainment videos. In Earth's command center, Admiral West was having a much better time. He stood before his officers, pointing at a large display showing the Imperial fleet's position. "Look at them," he said, grinning. "They've been sitting there for 24 hours trying to figure us out. Their ships are arranged in perfect geometric patterns, exactly like every alien invasion movie ever made." Commander Brown raised her hand. "Sir, the entertainment division has finished their special project." "Excellent." West's eyes sparkled with amusement. "Send it." Aboard the Imperial flagship, Xan's screen suddenly changed. A new transmission began playing on every channel. The humans had edited together clips from hundreds of their science fiction movies, showing alien invaders being defeated in increasingly spectacular ways. They set it to upbeat music. "Sir," one of Xan's officers called out, "this transmission is playing on every ship in the fleet. We can't shut it off." Xan watched as scene after scene showed powerful alien empires failing to conquer Earth. The humans had even added helpful labels. "Your speech, copied from this movie, and your ship design, looks just like this one from 2034. Get me the Imperial High Command." Xan shouted. The holographic form of the Imperial Supreme Commander appeared. Before Xan could speak, the ancient alien leader held up a hand. "We've been monitoring the situation," the Supreme Commander said. "Other fleets are reporting similar problems. These humans, they've imagined every possible way we could attack them. They've been practicing this war in their minds for generations." Back on Earth, Admiral West received a new report. "Sir, our deep space sensors show the Empire is bringing in reinforcements. 3 more fleets just arrived." West nodded calmly. "Right on schedule. Just like in Galactic Invasion 5. The Empire returns." His officers laughed. "Time to show them what else we learned from the movies. Initiate Operation Rolling Credits." Earth's defense fleet began to move. Instead of meeting the Empire head-on, they broke into smaller groups. Each group used different tactics. Some moved like submarines from old war movies. Others flew in patterns copied from video games. In the Imperial fleet, chaos spread as commanders tried to predict the human strategy. "They're using battle formations from their entertainment," one officer shouted. "But which movie? Which game? We can't predict which one they'll copy next." Xan watched helplessly as his perfect military formation fell into disarray. The humans weren't just fighting. They were putting on a show. Every move they made was accompanied by quotes from their science fiction, broadcast on all channels. As the first shots were about to be fired, Earth's fleet sent one final message. Admiral West's voice came through clear and confident. "For over 200 years, humanity has imagined this moment. We've played it out in books, movies, and games. You thought you were introducing us to interstellar war, but the truth is..." He paused for effect. "We've been rehearsing this dance for generations. Now, let's show you what we've learned." The Empire was about to discover that reality could be more surprising than fiction, especially when dealing with humans who had grown up imagining this very fight. The first battle between humanity and the Galactic Empire began with a quote from an old movie. Admiral West's voice rang through space. "Remember, folks, they may have fancy ships, but we have something better. We're too stubborn to lose." The Imperial fleet's perfect formation faced Earth's seemingly chaotic array of ships. Grand Marshal Xan stood confidently on his bridge, watching the human vessels move in patterns he couldn't understand. "Begin the standard attack pattern," Xan commanded. "Formation Delta 7, just as we've done 1,000 times before." The Imperial ships moved forward in a beautiful geometric pattern, their weapons charging with purple energy. According to 10,000 years of Imperial military doctrine, this formation had never failed. That's when Admiral West sprang his trap. "Execute Operation Fisherman's Net," he ordered, smiling as he watched his plan unfold. The scattered Earth ships suddenly moved with purpose. Small, fast vessels darted between the Imperial ships like schools of fish. Larger vessels hung back, matching an old naval warfare strategy that West had studied in military history. "Sir," Commander Brown called out, "the Empire is transmitting their targeting data between ships using standard frequencies, just like in the training simulations we've run for years." West nodded. "Just like in the movies, they never expect us to do something as primitive as listening to their transmissions." "Activate the jammers." Across the battlefield, Imperial ships suddenly lost contact with each other. Their perfect formation began to break apart as each ship tried to compensate. On his flagship, Xan watched in horror as the humans executed maneuvers that defied all logic. Some Earth ships spun like tops, firing in all directions. Others moved in zigzag patterns that made them nearly impossible to hit. "What are they doing?" Xan demanded. "No species fights like this." His tactical officer looked up from his screen, confused. "Sir, they're using tactics from something they call video games. Our computers can't predict their movements because they're not following any rational pattern." The battle continued to unfold, but not like any battle the Empire had fought before. Earth's ships broke into smaller groups, each using different tactics. Some moved like old sea submarines, running silent and deep through space. Others charged forward like ancient cavalry. "Launch the fighter squadrons," Xan ordered desperately. Imperial fighters poured out of the larger ships, expecting to overwhelm the human forces with sheer numbers. Instead, they found themselves caught in another trap. Admiral West watched with satisfaction as Earth's smaller ships executed perfectly what he called the Death Star trench run maneuver. The human pilots had practiced this countless times in simulators, copying moves from their favorite space movies. "Sir," Commander Brown reported, trying not to laugh, "the Imperial fighters can't handle our random attack patterns. They're trained to fight in straight lines. They don't know what to do when we come at them spinning." The Empire's losses mounted quickly. Their ships, designed for grand theatrical battles, couldn't adapt to humanity's unconventional warfare. Each time they tried to regroup, Earth's forces would switch tactics, pulling moves from different genres of science fiction. "Fall back," Xan finally ordered. "All ships, emergency retreat." As the Imperial fleet began its withdrawal, Admiral West opened a channel to all ships. "Should we pursue them, everyone?" The response came back immediately, hundreds of human voices quoting in unison from an ancient movie. "They'll be back, and in greater numbers." Laughter filled the communication channels as the Imperial ships fled. The first battle was over, and humanity had won without losing a single ship. In the aftermath, Commander Brown approached Admiral West's command chair. "Sir, do you think they'll figure out our secret?" West smiled, looking at the tactical display showing the retreating Imperial forces. "That our best military strategies came from entertaining ourselves for centuries. That we turned their superior technology against them because we'd imagined it all before." He shook his head. "Even if they figure it out, they'll never understand it. How do you explain to an empire that never learned to play that imagination is humanity's greatest weapon? As the Earth fleet regrouped, messages poured in from ships across the system. Each captain reported success, and each included their favorite movie quote. The Empire had brought war to Earth expecting an easy victory. Instead, they'd found a species that had been preparing for this moment through stories, games, and dreams for generations. And this was only the beginning. Deep inside the Imperial flagship's communication center, Officer First Class Ben watched Earth's broadcasts with growing fascination. He wasn't supposed to be doing this. The Imperial High Command had ordered all crews to ignore human entertainment transmissions, but he couldn't help himself. Right now, he was watching something called Star Wars. His 4 eyes were wide with wonder as the rebels fought against an empire that looked surprisingly like his own. "Hey," whispered his friend Jack, another low-ranking officer. "Put on that other one. The one with the blue aliens." Before Ben could change the video, an alarm sounded. They quickly switched their screens back to battle data, but not fast enough. Grand Marshal Xan stormed into the room. "What are you doing?" he demanded. "Sir," both officers jumped to attention. "We were analyzing enemy communication patterns." Xan's eyes narrowed. "You were watching their entertainment again, weren't you?" He looked at their screens and saw viewing data. 300 hours of human videos in the last week. "I should have you both executed." "But sir," Ben dared to speak, "don't you think we should understand their thinking? These stories they tell, they're always about small forces beating bigger ones, about empires falling, about..." "Silence," Xan roared, but his voice carried a hint of fear, because he knew the officer was right. Meanwhile, on Earth's command ship, Admiral West was holding an unusual strategic meeting. "Report on Operation Movie Night," he ordered. Commander Brown stood up, trying to keep a straight face. "Sir, we've been broadcasting our top 1,000 science fiction shows to the Imperial fleet. Our hackers slipped them into their entertainment systems. The results are interesting." She showed a graph on the main screen. Imperial crew efficiency has dropped 40%. They're staying up late watching our shows. Some ships are reporting mysterious equipment failures during key episodes of popular series. West laughed. "So they're binge-watching when they should be fighting?" "Yes, sir, but there's more." Brown's face turned serious. "We're picking up encrypted communications between Imperial ships. They're sharing the videos, discussing them. Some are even..." She paused dramatically, making memes. The command room burst into laughter. Back on the Imperial flagship, Xan faced an even bigger problem. His crew had started using human entertainment references in their daily work. "Sir," a navigator reported, "the human fleet is approaching Sector 7. "Then fire on them," Xan ordered. The navigator hesitated. "But sir, I've got a bad feeling about this." Xan's face turned purple with rage. That was a quote from one of those human movies. Before he could punish the navigator, the ship's speakers crackled to life. Earth's latest transmission was beginning. This time, they had edited together scenes from centuries of entertainment, showing empires falling, freedom winning, and underdogs triumphing. They set it to something humans called rock music. "Turn it off," Xan commanded. "We can't, sir," his communication officer replied. "They've hacked our systems again." "Wait, sir, look at the crew." Throughout the massive ship, Imperial crew members were watching. Some were nodding their heads to the music. Others were quietly mouthing the words to songs they'd already learned. Admiral West received the report with satisfaction. "How many Imperial ships are affected?" "All of them, sir," Brown replied. "Our cultural warfare is working better than we expected. The Empire's crews are watching hundreds of years' worth of human stories about rebellion, freedom, and standing up to authority. They've never seen anything like it." "And the special broadcast?" Brown grinned. "Ready to go, sir. We're calling it Operation End Credits." West nodded and pressed a button on his chair. Across every screen in the Imperial fleet, A new video began playing. It was a simple message, repeated in every language the Empire used. Dear Imperial Forces, we notice you're enjoying our entertainment. Did you know that in human space, anyone can make their own stories? Anyone can sing their own songs. Anyone can be the hero. No emperors required. Think about it. Signed, Humanity. In the depths of Imperial ships, crews gathered in secret to watch more human videos. They passed around saved copies of shows and movies, whispering about ideas they'd never considered before. Ideas like democracy, freedom, and rebellion. Thawne stood on his bridge, watching his mighty empire's forces slowly fall apart, not from weapons, but from something far more powerful: stories. The humans hadn't just brought war to the Empire, they'd brought hope. The first signs of real trouble came from an Imperial supply ship. Its crew sent a strange message to Earth's fleet. We come in peace. Also, we bring popcorn. We heard it's required for watching movies. Admiral West stared at the message on his screen, then at Commander Brown. Is this a joke? No, sir, she replied, checking her data. The supply ship Star Wanderer has broken formation. They're requesting movie recommendations and something called democracy lessons. Within hours, more Imperial ships began acting strangely. Some played human rock music on open channels. Others changed their strict Imperial names to references from Earth entertainment. One battleship now called itself Millennium Falcon I. On his flagship, Grand Marshal Xon was losing control. He walked onto his bridge just in time to hear his crew humming the theme from Star Wars. "Stop that immediately," he shouted. His crew jumped to attention, but one brave officer stepped forward. It was Ben, still wearing his Imperial uniform, but now with a small pin showing Earth's flag. "Sir," Ben said firmly, "we've been watching human history. Did you know they overthrew their kings and emperors centuries ago? They let their people choose their leaders." Don's face darkened. "Guard, arrest this traitor." But no guards moved. Instead, more crew members stood up, each wearing small Earth pins. "The humans aren't primitives," another officer said. "They're free. They make their own choices, tell their own stories, live their own lives. Why can't we do the same?" Back on Earth's command ship, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Commander Brown could hardly keep up. "Sir, Imperial colonies are declaring independence. They're using quotes from our movies in their freedom speeches." Admiral West watched the tactical display as dots representing Imperial ships changed color, showing their shift in allegiance. "How many ships have joined us?" "Over 30% of the Imperial fleet, sir. And more are coming. The Empire's own communication network is spreading our message faster than we could." The revolution was spreading like wildfire. Imperial crews had spent weeks watching human entertainment, learning about concepts like voting, personal freedom, and the right to choose their own path. Now they wanted those things for themselves. On a distant Imperial colony world, aliens gathered in their central square, playing the human movie Braveheart on massive screens. They cheered as the main character shouted freedom, a word that didn't even exist in the Imperial language until now. The Imperial Supreme Commander called an emergency meeting with Xon. The ancient alien leader looked tired and confused. "How?" he asked simply. "How did they defeat us without destroying our ships?" Before Xon could answer, his own bridge crew interrupted the transmission. They were led by Ben, now wearing a captain's uniform decorated with both Imperial and Earth symbols. "Sir," Ben announced, "we've taken control of the flagship. No one will be hurt. We've watched enough human entertainment to know that unnecessary violence isn't the answer." Xon watched helplessly as his crew cheered. Someone started playing the song Revolution by something called the Beatles. Admiral West received the news with a smile. He opened a channel to all ships, Imperial and human alike. "To all those who have chosen freedom, welcome to a new era. Earth extends the hand of friendship to all species who wish to live in peace and liberty. And yes, we'll share our entertainment library. The response was immediate. Cheers erupted from thousands of ships. Former Imperial crews began sharing their favorite human movies and shows. Some had already started creating their own stories, mixing their species' traditions with human-style storytelling. Commander Brown approached West's chair with a tablet. "Sir, look at this. The former Imperial worlds are organizing their first elections. They're calling their new government the United Federation of Planets." West laughed. "Did you tell them that's from Star Trek?" "Yes, sir. They said they know. That's why they chose it." Across the galaxy, the revolution continued. Not with bombs or battles, but with stories. The Empire had expected to fight ships and weapons. Instead, they'd face something far more powerful, the human spirit of freedom, shared through centuries of imagination and creativity. And it all started with laughter. The last loyal Imperial forces gathered near their homeworld. 5,000 ships, commanded by those too proud or too scared to embrace change, prepared for their final stand. Their crews had deleted all human entertainment from their systems and blocked all Earth broadcasts. Grand Marshal Xon, now leading this last Imperial fleet, stood on his new flagship's bridge. His old flagship, like many others, had joined the human side under Ben's leadership. "Status report," Xon demanded. "Remaining loyal ships are in position, sir," his new second-in-command reported. "We've removed all crew members who showed human influences. That had meant removing almost half their personnel. Many positions were now filled by robots, which couldn't be influenced by human entertainment." On Earth's side, Admiral West prepared the combined fleet. Human ships flew alongside former Imperial vessels, now painted with colorful designs instead of the Empire's black and purple colors. "All ships report ready, sir," Commander Brown announced, "including our secret weapons." West nodded. "Time to show them what we've been hiding. Begin Operation Plot Twist." Across the human fleet, hidden panels slid open on every ship. What the Empire had thought were simple communication arrays were actually advanced weapon systems. Earth had kept them hidden, disguised as primitive technology. "Sir," Brown called out excitedly, "former Imperial Captain Ben is requesting to lead the first attack wave." On the main screen, Ben appeared, now wearing a uniform that mixed Imperial and human designs. Behind him, his crew worked at their stations while rock music played softly in the background. "Permission to show them our new tactics, Admiral?" Ben asked with a grin. "Granted, Captain," West replied. "Show them what you learned from those space movies." Ben's ship, still named Star Wanderer, led a group of former Imperial vessels. Instead of moving in the Empire's perfect formations, they flew in patterns copied from human video games and movies. Some spun like throwing stars. Others moved like ocean creatures through space. On his flagship, Xon watched in horror. "What are they doing? Those ships aren't meant to move like that." "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the human fleet is advancing. Their weapons, they're not primitive at all. Our scans show technology we've never seen before." West's voice came through on all channels. "You thought we were showing you everything. That those simple weapons were our best. Remember what humans love most about stories." He paused for effect. "Plot twists." The battle began. Earth ships revealed weapon systems that had been carefully hidden for months. Former Imperial crews used their intimate knowledge of Imperial tactics against their old masters. And most importantly, every ship in the combined fleet fought with creativity and freedom instead of rigid rules. "Formation Omega-7, Xon commanded desperately. "It's never failed in 10,000 years. But it failed now, because Ben's ships had already moved to counter it, using a battle plan based on an old video game called Space Invaders." "Sir," Commander Brown reported to West, "the Imperial fleet is falling back. Their formations are breaking." "Time for the final," West ordered. "All ships, execute Operation Credits Roll." Every ship in the combined fleet began moving in perfect chaos. Some followed patterns from naval battles. Others copied maneuvers from science fiction. Still others created new moves that mixed both human and alien styles. Son watched his perfect Imperial formation fall apart. His ships, commanded by robots and loyal officers who couldn't think creatively, couldn't adapt to the unpredictable attacks. "This isn't how war is supposed to be," he shouted as another Imperial ship fell to the combined fleet's attacks. Ben's voice came through the communication system. "That's your problem, sir. You never learned to imagine something new." As the battle reached its peak, Earth ships revealed their final surprise. Hidden bays opened, launching thousands of small fighters. Each one was painted with scenes from human science fiction movies. The Empire's last stand was failing, not because of superior technology or numbers, but because they faced something they couldn't understand: the combined creativity of humans and former Imperial crews who had learned to think freely. The age of the rigid Empire was ending. The era of imagination had begun. Grand Marshal Xon stood in Earth's main conference room, his once perfect Imperial armor now dented and scratched. Before him sat representatives from Earth and all the freed Imperial worlds. The mighty empire that had lasted 10,000 years had fallen in less than 6 months. Admiral West sat at the head of the table, trying not to smile too much. Commander Brown stood beside him, recording the historic moment. "The Empire," Xon began, his voice heavy, "formally surrenders to Earth and its allies." "Thank you," West replied simply. Then he couldn't resist adding, "Would you like some popcorn?" Several former Imperial officers in the room, including Ben, laughed at the joke. Even some of Son's remaining loyal officers cracked small smiles. They'd finally learned what human humor was. "There's just one thing I must know," Xon said, looking tired. "How did you do it? How did primitive humans defeat the greatest empire in galaxy?" West stood up and walked to the room's large window. Earth was visible below, beautiful and blue. "We weren't primitive at all," he explained. "We just let you think we were. Every piece of simple technology we showed you was carefully designed to hide our real capabilities. We've had advanced ships and weapons for decades." "But why hide them?" Ton asked. Ben stepped forward, now wearing the uniform of the newly formed United Federation. "Because humans know something we never learned. The best stories always have surprise endings." On the massive screens around the room, images began playing. They showed the truth about Earth's technology: hidden cities under the oceans, bases inside mountains, advanced AI systems that made Imperial computers look like calculators. "We didn't just imagine space battles in our entertainment," West continued. "We prepared for them. Every movie, every game, every story was a kind of training. We learned to think creatively, to expect the unexpected, to never follow just one way of doing things." Commander Brown pulled up more images on the screens. "And now, look what's happening across the galaxy." The screens showed scenes from various former Imperial worlds. Aliens were creating their own movies, writing their own stories, singing their own songs. Some were even making entertainment that mixed their cultures with human styles. "Sir," Brown reported excitedly, "the first intergalactic entertainment network goes live today. They're calling it Galactic." West laughed. "Let me guess. Their first broadcast is how humans won with a laugh." "Actually," Ben chimed in, "it's a comedy show about Imperial officers learning to watch human movies. I may have helped write it." Even Son had to admit that sounded funny. The formal surrender ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy. As Son signed the final document, someone in the Earth control room accidentally played the victory music from Star Wars. Instead of stopping it, they let it play. It seemed perfect. After the ceremony, Admiral West met with his officers for the last time as a military commander. Tomorrow, the United Federation would take over, with representatives from all species working together. "One last thing," West announced. "The Federation Council wants to know, what should we do with all our hidden technology now?" Commander Brown raised her hand. I have an idea, sir. The Empire kept their worlds separate, afraid that sharing knowledge would lead to rebellion. Why don't we do the opposite? You mean? West smiled, understanding. Yes, sir. Share everything. Let everyone learn from each other, create something new together. And so, as the new era began, the galaxy saw something it had never seen before. Humans shared their real technology, while other species shared their knowledge. Together, they began building something greater than the Empire had ever been. The last piece of official business was naming the new Federation's capital city, to be built on a neutral planet. After much discussion, they chose a name that made everyone laugh: New Hollywood. As for Grand Marshal Xan, he was last seen requesting access to Earth's complete entertainment library. His reason? If you can't beat them, he said, quoting an old human phrase he'd learned, join them. Besides, I hear there's a new show starting, something called reality TV. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly what everyone wanted.